Your dog is staring at you from across the room, not barking, not moving, just watching. Maybe you are making coffee. Maybe you are working at a laptop. Maybe you looked up from your phone and caught those eyes already fixed on you, as if your dog had been waiting for you to notice. Most people laugh it off and they say, "My dog is weird," or "They want food," or "They are judging me." And sometimes, honestly, food is exactly the answer. Dogs learn routines very quickly. If you usually stand up before dinner, pick up keys before a walk, or open one cupboard before treats appear, your dog may stare because your body has become a weather forecast. They are watching for the first sign that something good is about to happen. But that is not the stare I want to talk about. I want to talk about the quiet stare that happens when nothing obvious is coming. No leash, no bowl, no treat bag, no door. Your dog is just looking at you. And the strange thing is, the stare does not always feel empty. Sometimes it feels like a question. Sometimes it feels like a check-in. Sometimes it feels like your dog is using your face to understand the room. And that may be closer to the truth than most people realize. Because for a dog, your face is not just your face. It is information. It is weather. It is permission. It is safety. It is the place where the room gets interpreted. A dog does not understand your calendar. A dog does not understand your inbox. A dog does not know why you suddenly became tense after reading one message on a screen. But your dog may notice that your breathing changed. Your shoulders rose, your voice got flatter, your attention disappeared. So they look, not because they are trying to be creepy, because you are one of the most important sources of meaning in their world. There is a name for part of this: social referencing. It is what happens when an animal looks to another individual to decide how to respond to something uncertain. Human babies do this. If something unfamiliar appears, they often look to a caregiver's face before deciding whether to approach, freeze, or back away. Dogs can do a version of this too. In 2012, researchers Isabella Merola, Emanuela Prato-Previd, and Sarah Marshall-Pacini studied dogs facing a novel, potentially worrying object, an electric fan with streamers attached. The dogs did not only inspect the object, they looked to the human. And when the owner gave emotional cues, the dog's behavior changed. A positive message made dogs more likely to approach and stay near the object. A negative message made them more cautious. The important detail is not that dogs are secretly tiny scientists. The important detail is that dogs use us to read situations. Your dog may stare at you because your reaction helps decide what kind of world they are standing in. Safe world, interesting world, something is wrong world, time to move world. That is why your dog may stare after a strange noise, or when a visitor walks in, or when you suddenly stop moving in the middle of a normal routine. They are not always asking, "What do I get?" Sometimes they are asking, "What does this mean?" But there is another layer. The stare is not only about information. It can also be about attachment. In 2015, researchers at Azabu University in Japan published a study in Science on dog-human gaze and oxytocin. Oxytocin is one of the chemicals involved in social bonding. The researchers found that when dogs gazed longer at their owners, owners showed increases in urinary oxytocin. Owners then interacted more with their dogs, and the dog's oxytocin rose too. Hand-raised wolves did not show the same human-directed gaze loop. That matters, because it suggests that your dog's gaze is not just passive looking. In the right context, mutual gaze can be part of a bonding system between dogs and humans. Your dog looks, you look back. Your face softens, your voice changes. Maybe your hand reaches down. The relationship warms up, and the dog learns something. Looking at you can bring you back, not just physically, emotionally. This is where people usually make the mistake. They hear about oxytocin and immediately turn every stare into, "My dog is saying, I love you." That is too simple. A dog's stare is not one sentence. It is a signal inside a scene. A soft stare with loose eyes, relaxed ears, a low tail, and a body that can look away may be social. A hard stare with a stiff body, closed mouth, forward weight, and no blinking may be tension. A stare at the treat cupboard is probably not a spiritual event. A stare during dinner is probably about dinner. A stare from a dog who is panting, pacing, clinging, or unable to settle may be stress. So the question is not, why does my dog stare? The better question is, what else is the body saying while the eyes are looking? Because dogs do not communicate in isolated body parts. They communicate in patterns. Eyes plus ears, eyes plus mouth, eyes plus posture, eyes plus timing, eyes plus what happened 30 seconds before. That last part matters more than people think. If your dog stares at you right before the normal walk time, the stare may be anticipation. If your dog stares after hearing a noise outside, it may be social referencing. If your dog stares while you cry, move slowly, or sit silently in a way you normally do not, it may be attention to your emotional state. If your dog stares from the couch while already relaxed, it may simply be contact at a distance, a way of staying socially connected without touching. That may sound small, but it fits with something else we know about dogs. In a 2013 study from the University of Vienna and the Clever Dog Lab, researchers tested whether domestic dogs show a secure base effect with their owners. Dogs worked on a problem-solving task under different conditions. Owner absent. Owner present but silent. Owner present and encouraging. The dogs spent more time working when their owner was present, even when the owner did not actively encourage them. An unfamiliar human did not have the same effect. In other words, the dog did not just need a person nearby. The dog needed their person. That is what a secure base is. A specific attachment figure whose presence makes exploration and emotional regulation easier. Now, think about the stare again. Your dog may look at you before moving towards something uncertain. They may look at you before settling. They may look at you after a sound. They may look at you when the room changes. The stare can be a way of locating the secure base. Not always dramatically, not always anxiously, sometimes just quietly. Are you there? Are you calm? Are we okay? This is why the same stare can feel different in different dogs. Some dogs stare like they are making a request. Some dogs stare like they are waiting for instructions. Some dogs stare like they are checking whether you noticed the same thing they noticed. Some dogs stare because your attention is the thing they want. And some dogs stare because looking at you is part of how they rest. That last one is easy to miss. We tend to think connection has to be active. Petting, playing, talking, walking. But social animals often maintain connection more quietly than that. A glance across the room. A body angled toward yours. A dog choosing the spot where they can see you. A head lifted when your chair moves. A stare that ends as soon as you look back and soften. The dog may not need anything more than confirmation. The invisible line is still open. But there is a warning side too. If the stare changes suddenly, pay attention. If your dog begins staring at walls, corners, empty spaces, or you in a way that feels confused or unlike them, that is not something to romanticize. If the stare comes with disorientation, sudden clinginess, pain signs, changes in appetite, pacing, head pressing, seizures, or unusual aggression, that deserves veterinary attention. The behavior is not the whole message. The change in the behavior is the message. A dog who has always watched you from the doorway while you cook may just be following a household ritual. A dog who suddenly cannot stop staring, cannot settle, or seems lost in familiar rooms may be telling you something is different. Not panic, attention. So what should you do when you catch your dog staring? First, do not punish the stare. Your dog is giving you information. Second, do not automatically reward every stare with food, or you may teach the dog that staring is a vending machine button. Third, read the scene. If the body is soft, you can simply acknowledge them. Look back gently. Say their name. Offer calm contact if they want it. If the stare is pointed at something specific, ask what they may be trying to draw your attention toward. The door, the bowl, a sound, a toy under the couch. If the stare is tense, give space and lower pressure. Do not lean over the dog. Do not force face-to-face contact. Do not turn it into a dominance contest. Eyes can bond, but eyes can also pressure. The difference is the body around them. And maybe that is the real lesson. Your dog's stare is not weird. It is old. It comes from an animal that learned to live beside a species whose faces changed everything. Your face predicts routines. Your face explains uncertainty. Your face invites contact. Your face can help turn a room from unsafe to safe. So when your dog watches you from across the room, they may not be judging you. They may not be plotting. They may not even be asking for anything obvious. They may be reading the most important signal in their environment, you. And if you want to understand your dog better, start there. Do not only ask why they are staring, ask what your face means to them in that moment. Because to your dog, your face may be more than something to look at. It may be the place where the whole room gets translated. If your dog does this, watch them tonight. What happens right before the stare? What does their body do while they look? And what changes when you gently look back? Tell me in the comments. Does your dog stare when they want something, when they are unsure, or when they are just quietly checking in?